Hello and welcome to On the Right Track Career Stories, a video series and podcast about real people, their real careers, and real lives. I'm Jane Christopher, your host, and today we're talking to Will Gonell. He's a general contractor. Let's listen to his story. So let's get started, Will. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
Fine, thank you. Thanks for joining us. Let's get started. Tell us what you do for a living, please.
So I am a general contractor. I build homes and renovate homes, and I've been doing that now for the past 10 years or so.
Okay. And how did you arrive in this business?
Life takes you on an interesting journey, and sometimes you never know where it's going to take you. So I'm originally from the U.S., and when I was in the U.S., I was actually in the military, and I was also a police officer. So, like the story goes, sometimes you meet a girl, everything changes, and that was certainly my case. So I met my now wife, and I moved to Toronto. So when I came here, I I knew that I didn't want to go back to being a police officer. I retired from the NYPD, and I said I need a change of pace because if I'm gonna have a family, I just want something different. And I started volunteering over at Jane and Finch area with troubled youths, particularly kids in gangs. And at that time, our focus was that if you were not going to be productive in school, if school wasn't really a thing, the city of Toronto wanted to put you in a trade program. So I was putting tons of young adults into these trade programs. And as I was doing this, I said to myself, wait a second, I don't actually know how to do any of this for myself. So I decided to go site to site every morning for about 2 weeks until someone took me in so they can teach me. That's exactly what I did. And once I got in, I got a feel um, for this passion, and I've been following it ever since.
Okay, that's a really interesting story. Can we get back? Let's start from the beginning. Tell us about how you chose military.
So I am the product of a single parent household, lower income. I was pretty much raised in the housing developments in New York, and father was out of the picture, MIA. So growing up in a lower income scenario, you always try to find a way to get out of it. Luckily, I was fortunate enough to have religion at that point. There was a church that I was very heavily involved, and that played a crucial role in my life, as well as my grandfather. And I'll get into how they both molded me into the person that I am today, because my grandfather was very regimented, taught me the value of hard work at a very young age. Back in the Dominican Republic, he would wake me up at 4 in the morning every day to go to the farm with him to tend to the cows and everything. So that work ethic was already in me. Now, fast forward, I'm back in New York, and again, single parent household, and no money, not a lot of money to eat and everything. And school was a refuge. School became a place where you went to eat and a bit of an escape from the struggles. So that allowed me to get involved in church. Church kind of kept me in the right track because the opportunities were always there. The opportunities for easy money to get involved in the wrong things were always there. But um, church and my grandfather gave me a really good moral compass as to how to steer in life. And once I got to high school, I I needed a bit of an escape, and the discipline of the military appealed to me.
Mhm.
It was something that I was used to all of my life with my grandfather, and it became a very easy transition for me. So I joined the military back in 2003, and it was a home away from home. It was an escape. It was a step up in the right direction, and that kind of led me on this path that I am today.
Now, what was it like being in the military?
It was easier than being with my grandfather. Like I said, my grandfather was very regimented, and in the military, they'll say things like, when you're in boot camp, basic training, they'll say they want intensity out of you. Everything is how high, if they ask you to jump, is how high. And that came very natural to me. So I actually had a very easy time in my military career because I felt like my whole life was training for it. It's very difficult. A lot of people have a difficult time with it, but it all depends on the personality and the upbringing. So for me, it was relatively easy. I was very, very active, trained with tons of troops around the world, uh, you know, served in Iraq, everything. So, but nonetheless, it was, uh, it was one of the best times of my life.
Now, how long was your career in the military?
So I was in for 8.5 years.
Mhm. Is that
So
a
I did.
typical length of time?
No, it is not. Like I said, I really enjoyed it. Your typical contract is usually around 4 years,
Mhm.
um, and I was just having a lot of fun with it, and I had a great group of guys,
Yeah.
and it gave me that sense of belonging. Like I said, it's one of the basic human needs: is
Yeah.
the need to love, belong, and be wanted, and that definitely fulfilled a couple of those needs for me for sure.
Okay, talk to us about the transition to the police force.
So my unit, I did a total of about 4 years active duty, and then I did another 4.5 in the reserves. So during my time in the reserves, everyone in my unit, they were either federal government or civil employees. They were all either firefighters, police officers, DEA, CIA, you name it. They were in all kinds of branches of the government.
Mhm.
And a lot of the guys in my unit, specifically in my fire team, they were all police officers. They said, well, why don't you become a police officer? I said, I don't know. Like, it's nothing that I ever really considered. But it became a very easy transition to make because the police department is a paramilitary organization. So it became a very easy transition for me.
Yeah.
So I made the move. I was a company sergeant when I was in the police academy, so I got my choice as to where I wanted to go, and I picked my own neighborhood, which is Uptown Bronx. So
Mhm.
it was great. It was great.
Mhm. It sounds like you really love both careers so far in your life. You've got
Yes,
much
I've
enjoyment.
I've been very fortunate to be able to do the things that I love, and that usually revolves in around people. So
Okay, so before we get into your work as a home builder, can you offer young people any advice about what they should be working on? Skill development for the military, for a career in military or police services?
if someone's considering the military, one of the things that you have to learn is let go of your ego.
Mhm.
Uh, in either one, really, there's a greater good that's bigger than you, and it takes a team in order to get there. And this is the same thing in life in general. Nothing great is ever accomplished by one single person. So the quicker and the easier that you let go and learn to be part of a team, that's half the battle right there.
Mhm. That's a great piece of advice. Okay, so you moved to Canada, you met a woman, and you came to Toronto area,
I
and
did, I did.
you got hooked on some of these trades. So talk to us about how you developed your business from scratch.
Yeah, so in the military, we say that everything is earned, not given. And the same is true in life, where in life, they say that the harder I work, the luckier I get. In essence, there's no such thing as luck. You create your own luck.
Mhm.
And that's through hard work and dedication. And when the one company that took me in the beginning in construction, um, they must have seen the word sucker written on my face because I was so eager to learn that they said, okay, you sure? Okay, we'll start you off digging. And I said, sure, I have no problem with that. Little they know I have a military background, so it's like I have no problem taking orders and no problems. following directions. So uh, when I started, I was first digging for a month straight. And it was one of those kind of tests where they try to break you and see what you're made out of. But I had a bigger goal in mind. I wanted to learn. So while I was digging, I was watching. While we were having a break, I was reading. While I was going home, I was watching videos. And I was always full of questions and wondering why and how things kind of went together. So very in a very short time, I started watching and I said, hey, you know what? I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And my boss would say, no, it's crazy. It takes years. I was like, no, I can do that. So little by little, he started giving me chances on these different aspects of construction. And sure enough, it was easy for me. It came very naturally to me.
Mm-hmm.
So little by little, I started becoming the guy that would speed up the projects for him because I was fast and I knew what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So then in one project, we were working for a developer at the time, and he said he fired my boss, and he said, "Well, I want you to run my site." And I said, "Are you crazy? Like I have like 2 days on the job. Like what are you doing?" And he was like, "No." He said something very interesting to me actually, and this is something that if there's one thing I would like to say to young people is take pride in everything you do.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I said that is because this developer, he saw me sweeping. It
Yeah.
was kind of one of those, the end of the day, I like to have my things very tidy. And it wasn't anything that anyone told me to do. It was something that I knew needed to be done. So I started sweeping. And he looks at me and he says, you know what? You remind me a lot of myself. Left a comment like that. So fast forward when he asked me to take over his project, I said, you're crazy. Like, why are you doing this? And he says, you remember when I told you that I see the way that you sweep? And I said, yeah. He says, you take pride in your work. And I said, well, I do, but sweeping and running a multi-million-dollar project are two very different things. So he says, no, you take pride in what you do, and that goes a long way. And uh, you have a lot of initiative, you're a quick learner. So by that point, he had a couple of conversations with me. And sure enough, like I was given this huge responsibility, but I took it on. I took it by the horns. And um, so little by little, I started getting the taste of, wait, so I'm building this guy's dream. What about my own?
Mm-hmm.
And then that's what gave me the itch to want to go into business for myself. And it was a very humbling experience because I went from building multi-million dollar projects for this developer to now coming back on my own, where I had to establish my own clientele. And keep in mind, I'm still new to Toronto, and I had to meet people for the first time. So I started back to doing bathrooms, which was it was a big hit in the pride department because it was a big step down in that sense, but I didn't let it get to me, nor did I let it deter me. So I did that bathroom, and before I knew it, I was doing half of the building, and before I knew that, I was back to where I started in no time. And eventually, like a couple of years later, I was actually able to hire my first boss
Mm-hmm.
as one of my sub trades
Ah,
because I
okay.
burned no bridges. I burned no bridges. So
It's another great piece of advice.
life is,
So what you went from doing these big projects, sounds kind of glamorous, to bathrooms. Step down, you said.
yes,
What was in it
yes.
for you? Can you talk about why you did that to the young
To
people?
me, it's always been about people.
Mhm.
Everything I've ever done has been around people. To backtrack a little bit, when I got involved in church, um, it was a Saturday program. It was called Each One Teach One at the time. And it started with two of us, literally two of us. And they said, what can you guys do to grow this thing? And I said, well, we got to get to the people. It was a no-brainer for me. And how do you do that? So this was in the Bronx. I have to say that very hard neighborhood, lots of drugs, lots of gang activity, lots of distractions. And I learned very quickly that, to the Romans, I was a Roman. To a Jew, I was a Jew. So right away, I started going out to the gang members, and I was like, "Hey, someone's looking for you. Like, who? I'm like, oh, Jesus. I started talking to them that way. So it wasn't your typical like preaching per se. It was like, you know what? We have a home for you. If you want to stay busy, if you want, something to do so you don't fall into the gangs, or you want to get out of the gangs, we have a place for you. So before you know it, in no time, we were able to grow it to about 300.
Hmm.
And we kept everyone busy. We had different workshops, help with school, a lot of emotional support. And so to me, it's always been about the people.
Hmm.
With the military, it was about something greater than myself. It was about the camaraderie. It was about all of that. The police department was just an extension of that, where I was actually able to help the people of my community, uh, that a lot of them knew me by name. My first day as a police officer, I'm literally a rookie, and I'm walking through the streets of the Bronx, and they had me with the senior officer who was a couple of years ahead of me, class wise. And he says, "Gonell, you're gonna be teamed up with so and so." I'm like, "Okay." So we start walking, and as we're walking, all you start hearing is, "Yo, Will." I'm like, "Hey, how are you, man?" "Yo, Will." Hey. He's like, "What are you, man? Are you like Mr. Rogers' neighbor?" I said, "Listen, this is my own neighborhood. Like, what can I say?" So it was great to be able to do that. So now that I'm a general contractor and I build and renovate homes, it's just an extension of that. It's just a way to, it doesn't get more personal than that. You're getting into people's personal space. You're
Hmm.
building, in some cases, their dream home. You're repairing sometimes a nightmare. So it's just an extension of helping people. So to me, it's all about the people.
Okay, great. Okay, so Will, you've given us a lot of time today, some great insights already. Just a couple more questions. What skills would you recommend for students to develop now if they want to be entrepreneurs and run their own business the way you are?
Yeah, so it starts with a decision, and it starts with a passion. Um, and it also has a lot to do with not settling. Growing up, no one taught me that I could own my own business. Everyone kind of taught me, if you want to get out of this situation, if you want to get ahead in life, if you want to live comfortably, follow the process. And for me, that was, I joined the military, I joined the police department, which were at the time, they were very secure um, careers. In the States, they kind of elevated me automatically to like a sort of a middle class status, because it showed comfort, it showed a lot of different things. But no one taught me that I could do it for myself, that I could do something for myself. It wasn't until I came to Canada and I started at a blank slate that I said, I can consider this. And so someone that's young, so to the young people out there, what I would say to you is find out what your passion is.
Mhm.
And yeah, school is very important. Don't get me wrong. Like in that process, I completed my undergrad and I did a portion into my master's. So I never neglected education. So, don't neglect your education, but at the same time is there is no mold. So as if you have a passion, if you have a dream, if there's something that you're really interested in, follow it through, and sky's the limit, as long as you push forward. So um, the main advice, if you didn't hear anything else that I said, is just follow your dreams, and there's no best time to do it than right now.
Okay, awesome. Okay, last question, Will. What would you tell your younger self?
I live a life of no regrets, because every decision that I've made, good or bad, is what's molded me into who I am today.
Hmm.
And it's what's given me the battle scars needed to endure certain things in life. So the best advice that I could tell myself is this too shall pass,
Hmm.
because um, I wouldn't have it any other way. I would
Love it.
not have it any other way.
Okay, well, that's a great way to end it off. Thank you so much, Will. I really
Thank you for
appreciate
having me.
your time today and what great stories you've shared.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You as well.
Thank you very much for joining us today. If you liked the episode, give us a like, and even better, subscribe. Check out the show notes for more information about how to reach us at Right Track Education if you're interested in digging deeper about your own career prospects.